So this is the 5th video in my little mini series about this Forester electric chainsaw chain sharpener. In my other videos, I sharpened 3 of my saws and did some experimental stuff with this, just trying to get the hang of it, trying different things. And I think by now I'm starting to do really well, and I've improved a lot since my first chain that I sharpened. But anyway, I had mentioned in one of my other videos on this that you can actually, and I don't know, I guess I never did read the instructions on this, so I don't know if it was something you can do anyway, but I was thinking, man, you could probably use this to file down the rakers on the chain. I know I have a raker file right here that I keep behind this, and I use it all the time. If you need to take a little bit off. I have a lot of chains that have never had the rakers filed on them, but they've been sharpened a lot, and you know, they need more material taken off. And I just thought, how cool would it be if I could just use one of these to file down all the rakers, you know? I don't know if that's something these things are made for or not, but I figured out a good technique to do that, and I believe I have that in one of my other videos. But long story short, I basically set up the height and everything so then I can actually like feed the chain through with my left hand while holding, you know, the grinding part with my right hand. And I pretty quickly went through an entire chain and ground down all the rakers at the exact same height, and the chain worked really well. So I thought, man, this is genius. But then problem with that is if you misuse this thing when it comes to, you know, wear and tear on this wheel, you can actually deform the wheel, and I don't want to do that because this is a good sharpener. I want to keep it and the wheel in good shape so that I can properly sharpen my chains and get them as sharp as I can, so then they, you know, give me the best performance possible with the cheap saws that I have. I didn't really want to use this for that reason, but I had joked in one of my other videos that I would love to get a cheap one like this and use that as like my beat up one. Like I can do rakers with it, or I can do weird experimental crap. Just, I'd like one of these that I could just be rough on and not care about, you know, the repercussions. So I'd mentioned how I wouldn't mind getting a Chicago electric. Lo and behold, I got one from Harbor Freight. My local store had one of these like as a display model, and it was bolted down to a metal shelf, and everybody who walked by and looked at it like stole all the parts off of it and just broke it and did all kinds of weird crap. So it looks so bad. It looks like such a piece of crap sitting there, and it probably is. But at least this one's new, so maybe I have a little bit of hope for it. I want to unbox this and check this thing out and see if it's any good, and at the very least see if I can use this to do rakers. And this was $34.99. I may have wasted my money. I was kind of hoping it would be on sale or I have a coupon to use or something, but unfortunately at the time I didn't. But honestly, I spent worse money, so this is more or less a science experiment to ease my curiosity on it. So it's worth it to me, but I'm gonna get this thing unboxed and check it out. This is exciting. I'm kind of like mildly obsessed with these sharpeners now. I really want a timber tough, but they seem really expensive for some reason. Good old Chicago electric. Wow. You know, this doesn't even look half bad. Believe it or not, this thing does have a fresh chainsaw sharpener smell to it. Not bad. I think it's pretty close to packaged the same way that the Forester was. Assembly is pretty simple. Same little device. And it has an arrow on it, and that's it points at the degrees on there. So okay, what really got me when I was looking at this in store was the literally the bike brake, the bicycle brake. I mean, oh my gosh, that is so funny. It is seriously just, they probably pulled this out of like a mongoose factory in China and said, yeah, we need some of those for these chainsaw sharpeners we're making, you know, and they're like, no problem, we'll send over a whole bunch of them. So where does this go? If only there's something that would tell me. Oh, here's some instructions. Okay, attaching the vise. Oh, yeah, I already did that. Ah, okay. That's kind of weird. What a weird design. Okay. This Forester, right now this blade is free. And then when you want to sharpen it, you do this and it no longer moves, and then you can sharpen, right? So this, instead of this bicycle brake is this. Does what this does. Move this a little bit to like 20. There we go. 20 degrees. Yeah, so it's basically just like a you're just using a bicycle brake as the like brake for the chain. And I guess maybe that's supposed to like speed it up or something. Oh, and then that's how you rotate it by hand, I suppose. That's funny. Guess you just kind of tighten it to where you want it. Literally the only brake on this thing looks to be this, which it's not holding it in there. So I wonder if you're supposed to tighten these at all. So I'm gonna go grab Phillips, because these are loose. So I'm assuming, because see on this, you can adjust these two Allen head bolts / screws right there to tighten this a little bit. I don't want to break anything here though. That's weird. Maybe it's this that you tighten. Everything seems like it's already tight. You can also, good thing I got a new set of screwdrivers. Nice little skinny screwdriver here, and you can hold that still, and then you can tighten this. Okay, I did that too much. I mean, it's holding it. Not very good though. No wonder everybody says this thing's a piece of crap. This Forester holds chain awesome. I mean, it ain't going anywhere. Wonder if it would help any. I got this stupid thing adjusted somewhere. I'd say, what, like right there? So when you're all the way down, like there. Grab my venture key handles. This is probably maybe 5. Man, this thing is such a pile. You can tell just by like feeling it that it's a cheap piece of crap. But honestly, I think this is going to be absolutely perfect for doing rakers. Look at that. Oh, that's so bad. Okay, I'm gonna read the directions a little bit. Okay, I just read the instructions and I didn't learn much. So, got that tightened down. I guess I'm just gonna try to tighten everything to the best of my abilities without snapping everything. It's got the same poor electric switch design that the Forester has as well. I will say, on eBay I found a Timber Tough, I think, that's green, really pretty green color, and believe it or not, it actually has the power button right where I said it should be in one of my previous videos on this Forester, because I said it's stupid to have, this is even worse really. I think this one's better because it's a huge switch. This one here is two little flat buttons. And it's, you can't even, like, it's hard to see and everything, and I'm like, they should put buttons here or down here, but they don't. So the Chicago Electric's the same way, but the Timber Tough model that I was looking at had it right up here, so good on them. This does, it has an extremely similar stopping device as the Forester for the height. Yeah, right now it's, you know, tighten that in. At least it has that. The plastic here is formed so then that nut stays still. So you don't want to over tighten this, you might break the plastic on it. Okay, that's not even touching, so that's, we'll just fasten it down here for now. I don't know how they manage this, but the Forester just seems a little bit more well built. But both of these are made overseas, so I just don't know how one can be crappier than the other, but maybe that's why this is only 35 bucks. The plastic on here already has marking on it. This is metal, at least. Metal doesn't really bend. This plastic might. So if you push that down hard enough, you can probably get this thing all out of whack. Here's a Phillips. It's tight. I believe these little things can be tightened. Sorry if you can't really see what I'm doing here. Good thing I'm expanding my screwdriver network. I wonder if you're supposed to tighten these at all. These are tiny little, man, strip that out pretty easy, I bet. Yeah, it doesn't hold it. That bothers me. And these are tight. Which, these probably don't really have a whole lot to do with this chain not staying put. It's just this short little piece of metal is the only thing, and the tension you put on this brake handle, that's the only thing that's stopping that chain from rotating. I'm afraid to hold this down too tight. I'll break this thing in half. I mean, literally, I will. It's that cheap. So there's just not enough, you know, not enough real estate right here to hold this thing down. This thing here, this entire thing, you can't really see it. And maybe not the whole thing, but pretty much the whole center part of this clamps down, and the chain does not move at all. But on this one, that's the only thing. Wonder if it has anything to do with the angle it's at. If you've ever done brakes on a vehicle before, it's really crazy to see how close, you know, your brake pads are to your rotor or your shoes to your drum. And looking at it, you're like, that is totally touching, you know, but it's not. It's completely free, no contact whatsoever. Whole wheel spins over just fine, but literally a little bit of brake and it's already putting pressure. Your brake shoes or your brake pads are putting pressure, making contact and slowing you down. This is the same thing. Like, it's gonna barely look like, it's gotta barely look like it's doing anything. So you don't even have to barely hit this brake. So right now, it's totally loosey-goose. I'll hold this brake down as best I can without breaking it. Okay, it's not moving now. It's funny because this will skip over, but It's not going nowhere. What about now? That's probably the best I've gotten this thing so far. How about just a tiny, just a little, boop. There we go. All right. I'll admit that's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's got that same little doohickey here that the Forester has. Weird thing about this thing is how this thing lines up. Oh, well, probably because I'm at a stupid angle. Let's do 30 like I was on the Forester. The best that I can. Let's see where that is now. Like right in the middle. So we're gonna have to adjust this thing a lot. Man, this is so cheap. Look at that. I'm not kidding. If I wanted to, I could snap this thing in half. It's that cheap. And this is super annoying that I don't have it clamped down yet. Can't even go down far enough. It's the same thing as the Forester, just a bunch of adjustments. So, I don't want to mount this thing right here because it's going to be right in my way. So, I'm going to temporarily mount it right here. And this does have the cheapest, crappiest lip on the bottom of this where you're supposed to line it up to hang off of this edge of your bench. This one has like 2, 3, 4 millimeter things coming off of this that lines you up on the edge. This literally, that's 1 millimeter at most. It barely does anything. It just slides right over it. But that's where it's supposed to be. So I'm gonna do something stupid. Threw together some makeshift mounting hardware, which this is lined up. I don't mind putting holes in this bench. That makes me feel better. Problem I have now is that I want to try sharpening a chain, but I don't want to try any of my good chains on this piece of crap. This disc doesn't even look good. Like, this Forester came with a bunch of extras. Like, it had stuff about how big the disc is, the wheel, angles, chisel, whatever. This one here is just like, here's what you got, have fun. You know, that might not be the proper thing to be sharpening any of this with. Just a quick little thing here. I put this together a while back. This is my chain sharpening wall. Basically, I have 6 pegs. This is the 16 inch, this is 18 inch, and this is 20 inch. The left pegs that has chain on it right now, those are the sharp chains. No, those are the ones that need to be sharpened. And then the ones on the right are ones that are already sharpened, and as you can see, there is none on the right parts. Except for this one, which earlier was right here because it's very sharp, it needs nothing. But I have, you know, 1, 2, 3 16 inch, 1 18, and I have 3 20 inch, which these are all brand new chain. They're beat up and they're dull, but these are all brand new. Never been sharpened before because I didn't have time. So I threw brand new chains on my saw. And they are so, this one is so beat up. Like that right there is terrible. I hit nails left and right when I was cutting trees down. I took 7 trees down a couple months ago, and I swear every time I put a brand new chain on, I would hit a place where a bird house would be nailed in, or, you know, a tree house or whatever, signs, I don't know. I'm not kidding you. I hit every single metal object in that tree. I even hit threaded rod that was put in the tree 20 years ago to keep it from splitting apart. That's how unlucky I am. Or maybe inexperienced, but I don't know how you can know whether or not you have metal in a tree. But other than a metal detector, I guess. But anyway, so I don't really have a chain right now that I want to sacrifice on the Chicago Electric. So in a couple seconds, you'll see a chain on this thing, but for me, I gotta go get a used chain from where I store my equipment. Try to get this thing rigged up so you can see. All right. So I basically put this thing at 30 degrees, which is the same degree I was using on the Forester. I apologize if I do a really terrible job of filming this, just like I did with the Forester sharpener. That is so sketchy. So I definitely have my doubts about this thing, but I'm gonna give it a go anyways. So keep in mind, this chain is already a piece of crap, okay? If I mess it up or take off too much material, it's not the end of the world. This is an experimental piece to see if this piece will do anything. I am still extremely dubious of this little braking system actually holding the chain securely and safely, but whatever. Oh, you're not gonna be able to see that. Huh, thing's pretty quiet. Crazy. Locked in. Give it a test. All right. Man, it stinks. It is still pretty messed up. I'm gonna have to go pretty deep into this thing to actually make a difference on it. That's how messed up these teeth are. Try this again. Yeah, not deep enough. I'm gonna go ahead and make this thing move forward just a tad. That's a little bit better. I seriously have no idea if you can... You know what? I've never tried this before. I need a different camera for this stuff, but pretty much every tooth looks like that. Big old chunks gouged out of it because I was hitting a lot of metal in some of these trees I was cutting down. Not very sharp though. When I was, the first chain I ever cut with the Forester, when I touched this, I was like, whoa, that's sharp. You know, that kind of reaction. I'm not getting that from this at all. So I wonder, get the camera out of the way. Okay. I gotta take a lot of material off, so don't beat me up for this. This is for science. I don't know why, but this thing stinks. I am still not impressed. That's not a good cut. Seriously, that's just a tiny bit more. I don't think it's taken enough material off here. And maybe it's because I'm actually pulling on the chain because I don't trust this brake enough to hold the chain still. So I'm using my left hand down here, and I'm actually holding the chain. See how the chain's, that's my left hand doing that. I don't trust this locking mechanism. Maybe that's why this relationship isn't working. There's trust issues. I'll try it without holding on to the chain. See, that's stupid. Did you see that? Literally, that was lifting this up. That's how crappy this thing is. Pathetic. Terrible. That's not sharp at all. That's, you could spread butter with that thing. Man. That is awful. Man. Jeez. Not good at all. Alright, I'm shutting this thing down. I gotta say, this thing, somebody a while back commented on one of my 4 currently uploaded videos on this Forester. Somebody had mentioned in the comments that they had bought this Chicago Electric and that it was a huge piece of crap. I can't remember their username, but whoever you were absolutely correct. This thing is a pile of crap. Seriously, just an all-around poor design. Even though I know I can use this to do rakers, I almost kind of want to take it and like throw it against the wall. It's so dissatisfying having something that's a piece of junk. So, I guess in my own sense, I bought this because I wanted to do my own little episode of Mythbusters, with the question being, does a Chicago Electric chainsaw chain sharpener saw chainsaw chain good? No, it does not. Might be plausible, but it's not confirmed either. This thing absolutely sucks. I think the biggest problem is the stupid bicycle brake off of a Huffy that somebody decided was qualified enough to hold a chainsaw chain still while an electric motor turned a grinding disc to do fine cutting on something that, if not sharpened properly, will not work right and be dangerous. So if that was their mission, they passed. This literally, I haven't touched this. I haven't done anything with this yet because I was moving it around. And this one right here is sharper now, the way it was. It's sharper now than any of the ones I did earlier. Yeah, see, I did that one earlier. That's not sharp at all. I mean, I'm not joking. That's not sharp at all. Now, here's what I am thinking of is, I know this chain's a piece of junk, but what if I took this chain and put it through the Forester? Now that's what I'm wondering. Because I'm gonna give up on the Chicago Electric being appropriate to sharpen chainsaw chain. Not doing it, but we're gonna try it out and see if we can't do the rakers. Because if it does rakers, then awesome. I'd love to use this thing. Because like I said, I'd much rather mess up this grinding disc and use this piece of crap over doing any type of damage to my awesome Forester here. So this is gonna be the raker machine. Okay, for one, we're way too close. This is a bad angle. So we're gonna straighten this thing out a little bit better. Let's just go right to 0. See how this thing looks. That'll shave the raker a little bit. I don't know if that's gonna do any good. I'm trying to film better because I'm really bad about that stuff. I want people to be able to see things in my videos. Is that better? Maybe? Gotta readjust this thing. It's not low enough. Okay, now it's too much. Wow. How do I do this properly? I think I have to do it this way. I'm gonna lock this thing in at 30 at this angle. I need to get this so then literally the best part of this grinding disc is lined up properly with the highest part of the raker in order to properly do this. Man, this thing just sucks. Gosh. This is really hard to work with. Man, this thing's awkward. Man, I got this raker right here looking like Mount Crumpet. Alright, well, I don't want to give up on this thing yet, so maybe this is something I'm gonna have to modify to make it halfway decent, because the way it is now, it sucks. Okay, I'm just totally massacring these rakers. Man, this thing's all jammed up. So, obviously I took material off on that raker. Whoops. like I said, I'm taking material off of those rakers. Top of this tooth is way above that raker, so obviously it was taken down too far, but I'm just doing that because I don't care. I'm just experimenting here, but I would not do that to any of my good chains up until I hit nails with it. But yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so I guess here's a rundown of my thoughts on this thing. Apologize if you couldn't hear me for most of this video because of that heater. Again, this Chicago Electric sharpener is a huge piece of crap. I don't think I've ever been so dissatisfied with anything that I bought pretty much for the sole purpose of testing and seeing out of curiosity, you know, if it's any good or not. This is probably the worst thing I've ever done that process with and then been disgusted by it. So this thing is such a piece of junk. I see a lot of comments in all different types of videos. I mean, chainsaw sharpening videos, videos about general Chicago Electric stuff. You can get it Harbor Freight, tool reviews, whatever. Yeah, I've heard multiple times that this thing sucks. And then it's funny because where I live, you see these sharpeners go for sale online all the time because people get them and either they know that it's a piece of crap or they can't figure out how to use it. But in their defense, if I would have never bought this Forester and I just went straight to buying the Chicago Electric and, you know, had to use the bicycle brake cable and these things and this to learn how to sharpen chainsaw chain, I would have a hard time too and feel like I'm not doing it right, because this thing is so, and I said this about the Forester in my other videos, that this is not a metal lathe. This is not a machining thing. This Forester was made in China just like the Chicago Electric one. So this one isn't even supposed to, it's not going to be that accurate, you know, because it's a good sharpener, but it's still cheap, you know what I mean? But this thing here has precision accuracy compared to the Chicago Electric. This is bad. This is embarrassingly bad. It doesn't hold the chain. It doesn't hold angles very well. This Forester, I had mentioned in one of my other videos that the adjustment screw slash bolt right here that hits on that little deal right there stops the grinding wheel from going any farther down. I had mentioned that if you push on this too hard, like right there, that's as far as it'll go with no pressure from me. If I push on this, I can physically get it to bend because my torso and the strength in my arm and my upper body is enough that I can actually, you know, distort the mounts and the plastic and everything. So I had said that you have to be very careful about pushing on it too hard. Otherwise, you know, you'll do things you don't want to do. This Chicago Electric is the same way, only it's a million times worse. I'm gonna crank this thing out right there. Okay. See how it stops right there? I'm barely putting any pressure on it. That's how easy it bends. The whole thing like flexes. It's just, I can bend it all kinds of ways. And you know, obviously the base of this thing is made of plastic, just like the top part. Whereas this one here, you know, I don't think this is aluminum. Maybe it is, but I don't think it is. It might actually be aluminum. This part is, this base on this Forester is at least made out of some sort of metal. Whether it's an alloy or, you know, straight aluminum or whatever. But this being made out of plastic just adds to how flimsy and cheap it is. So, and honestly, if you wore this little spot down enough, you could actually send this bolt right through that plastic. Whereas you would have to use this thing for a long time to get the tip of this to wear a hole through this metal. So Now I've been on this thing lately where I've been checking out all sorts of different brands of chainsaw sharpeners, these electric style ones. I didn't think it at the time, but I think I got a really good deal on this Forester, having it be only 60 bucks. Considering some of these like Timber Tough, and there's a few other brands that are like 180 bucks. And that's not even the most expensive ones that I found. I found ones that were well into the 300-400 range. Same exact thing, same principle, all fine-tuned adjustments by hand, and then you have to physically pull this down with your hand, and you have to, you know, twist all of your chain through and everything, and it's just same thing as this, only a few $100s. So really 60 for this Forester wasn't bad. I kind of feel stupid now paying 35 bucks for the Chicago Electric, but honestly, I'll absorb that cost, no big deal. But I'm telling everybody watching this video right now, do not buy one. Don't buy one. I'm terrible at sharpening with a file or with even just a, you know, a normal little electric, like rotary tool style sharpener. I suck at doing it that way. At least that way I got a chain halfway sharp. This thing, not a single tooth on here that I actually tried sharpening was any good. This tooth, I did not just sharpen. That is the condition it's been in since the day I was cutting a tree with it and hitting nails and stuff. And this one is sharper than the ones that I tried to sharpen earlier with the Chicago Electric. So please, please, please do not get one. I'm begging you, even if you see it in the clearance bin for $15, leave it there. I'm not gonna throw this and I'm not gonna sell it, but I already spent money into it, so now I feel like an idiot, so I have to modify it now. Otherwise I'm gonna feel like I lost. I'm probably gonna try to come up with a better system for this thing. I think the bike brake has to go. It's really stupid. I have some pieces here that I can work with, you know, for starters. Maybe I can make something off of what is here and get something figured out, so then I can actually use this as something to do rakers with, because I do not want to distort my awesome grinding disc on this Forester by using it to do rakers. I'd much rather do it with this. I'm gonna look into that later on. Now, before I end this video, just for fun, I'm gonna take this chain, throw it on here, see what we can't do. All right. Okay, that little bit right there was far superior to any of the sharpening I did on the Chicago Electric. Now's the perfect time for me to bring this up, because I forgot to mention it earlier. The Chicago Electric, I basically just insulted it, and I stick by my words. The one thing this thing has going for it is the power switch. That's it. That's the one thing that this thing did right. I love this power switch. This thing is so, even though it's on the back side of this unit, which is a stupid place for an on-off switch, it's still the cool kind where you just, you know, boom, 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 boom. This Forester has two buttons that are really awkward. So you gotta put your hand in there and press these down, and then there's like a cover over the actual pieces or the parts that you push, so you gotta like feel around for where the actual little thing is, and then you have to hit it. Then you always forget if, you know, what up or down is on or off, whatever. That is one thing that's better about the Chicago Electric, even though, like I said in the other videos, someone needs to put a button down here so you can actually, you know, get a hold of it without, you know, having to look over the machine and everything. Quickly, I'm just gonna say I did see a Timber Tough on eBay that I've considered buying, and that version had a button right over here in the same location, and I thought that's perfect, that's genius. You just hit on or off, and then obviously it would start up, use your hand to whatever, and then boom, shut it off. But anyways, a while back I had thought of this, and I had actually bought an electric foot switch from Harbor Freight, and I totally forgot about it. I keep forgetting about this stupid foot switch. So now is the time. I'm taking this thing out and I'm gonna try it. I'm not kidding. I am so bad about remembering things. I bought this literally for the Forester. I had said in one of my other videos that since the button's on the backside, maybe I could come up with some other kind of on-off type thing. And honestly, I probably could have just turned this on and then killed the power strip and just bent over and hit on and off on the power strip to get this to go, but that's too much work. I don't want to do that. I'd much rather have a foot switch. And when I came across this at Harbor Freight, it was kind of a eureka moment where I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. Foot switch. And this can be used with anything, really. So I remember this was $13.99. So pretty cheap. Now, the one thing I don't know about this is, and I'm sure the instructions will say, but I guess looking at it, I couldn't tell if like if you've ever tried TIG welding, the TIG welder that I used to use had the foot operated power. So instead of the one that's actually that's in your hands. And so I pushed down, and the more I pushed on it, the more power I got. But anyway, I don't know if this is like that, where you have to like, obviously it turns power on and off, but I don't know if you like hit it once to turn it on and then it just stays on, or if you have to keep your foot on there to keep whatever on. Like, I don't know if it's a safety thing where like you're using a chop saw and you got your foot on it, and then, you know, you have a heart attack and you fall over sideways and your foot comes off of it and then your tool shuts off. Or if you have a heart attack, fall over sideways on your garage floor and your machine stays running, because it's really just like a light switch where you flick it on and off. You don't stand there holding your light switch, you know, to keep the power on. But anyways, hands-free use only, blah, blah, blah. Not in place of a permanent on-off power switch for the tool. That's funny, because that's exactly what I'm using it for. Huh, yeah, okay. Well, anyway, I'll have to mess with it. But this is a great idea. This is really good. Honestly, installation can't really get any easier than this. The only thing here is that I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to cut my wire tie, because I had my cord here all nice. Kill that for safety reasons. Oh yeah, that does suck. Cords here. Okay. I still like to keep my cords neat, so I'm gonna have to redo this later, but for now I'm just doing this to see what it does. There's your plug-in for your whatever that you're doing. I'm sorry you couldn't see that. I'm really terrible at filming this stuff. Alright, so turn this back on. Okay, we have no power right now. Still nothing. Still nothing. This is plugged in. Okay, so what's happening here is that my little idea is not working. So I thought that if I hit the on button for this, you know, and never actually physically shut it off on the back of here, that this would be the new switch, but that's not how it's appearing to work. So it turns on. I mean, whatever, maybe it's a safety thing for at least killing power and not giving it power. So that might be something that the Chicago Electric has over the Forester, because I bet you it'll work with this. Because this has that sweet power switch on it that I was talking about. Come on, man. You're telling me the Chicago Electric has a cooler power setup than the Forester? Ah, that sucks. That blows. That must be some sort of safety thing with the electrical on this then. Man, that sucks. Alright, well, for now, forget that. I guess we'll just go back to our regular programming. Well, I'm not going to record this whole process, but yeah, this thing, that tooth right there is 10 times sharper than any of the teeth that I already sharpened on here with the Chicago Electric. It's no comparison at all. I don't want to take too much material off at once, you know, because you can't ever add any, but you can always take off more. So I'd rather just do a little tiny bit, go through the whole chain, go back, see what I have for remaining damage, try to sharpen that off, you know, really small adjustments, small increments. And I guess in a way it probably saves the grinding wheel as well, because you cut too much material off at once, that's got to be not very good for this thing. So but honestly, this thing is like, this is like a high precision metal lathe compared to this thing, even though it's not, you know, it's way more accurate and able to be fine-tuned. So I love this Forester. The next time I buy an electric chainsaw chain sharpener, I'm not going to buy anything similar to the Chicago Electric. I'm either going to go up or I'm going to stay with the Forester. I'd really like to try one of the Timber Tough or whatever those green ones are that I see a lot. I see them at Tractor Supply, I see them at Fleet Farm, obviously not Menards. Forester has their product line at Menards, so yeah, that's pretty accurate compared to the Chicago Electric. So if you're somebody who's never used one of these before and you start off with something like the Forester, you're gonna do just fine, because even though it was a learning curve for me, I got the hang of it after a while, and you know, I can knock out a chain in a good while if I really, you know, focus on what I'm doing and I'm not filming and talking and I just do what I need to do. I can get it done pretty fast and accurately. So, but yeah, this thing's, I highly recommend this Forester. So I cannot speak on behalf of anything other than this Forester model and the Chicago Electric model, but no, yes, no. It's pretty much all the advice I can give right now for anybody looking into buying one of these or curious about them. That's my advice. You know, probably in another video here I might do a time lapse or something and like go through all this chain. I have, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 chains, 7, including this one, that need to be sharpened to their fullest potential. So when I get around to doing that, you know, I'll record it and I'll show more. Anyway, I jab a lot, I'm sorry, but I hope you learned some things from this video. I know I certainly did. I need to find my drill so I can take this piece of crap off of my bench. I'm tired of looking at it. But all right, let me know if you have any questions or anything, and like always, thanks for watching.